Hello, I'm Holly Marlowe. I'm a mum. I have a biological 7-year-old daughter and a 3-year-old, almost 4-year-old adopted son who came to live with us when he was 13 months old, and we officially adopted him a few months later. I write children's books to help children to understand different kinds of families, specifically adoptive families, kinship families and foster families. And I'm going to talk to you today about how to talk to children about their life story and how to incorporate life story work into everyday life. So as foster carers, I'm sure many of you will do some of the kind of obvious basic things to help children with their life story. So you will probably keep a photo album. One thing I would recommend is to try to find a photo album that has space to write things next to it. It's been very useful for us that ours has little spaces with his first stated. So, for example, next to one of the photos it says, "This was the day when your first tooth came through," that kind of thing. I'd also really recommend putting in any comments, any anecdotes, that this funny thing happened, or keeping a separate diary with those anecdotes in. It's not so much that a child needs a diary of every thing that ever happened in their life, but the funny, sweet, amusing things, or the things they used to mispronounce, that kind of stuff is really important to my children anyway. A lot of you will also keep a memory box, including precious items from when the child was in your care. We received one which included this adorable little tiny top from the first time he met his foster carers, and other wonderful things like his first stocking, birthday cards from birth parents, which was really, really wonderful to see. They're very precious to us. And the candle from his first birthday cake. And I think this is really important because it shows that his first milestones were celebrated, even though we were not officially his parents yet. We also have this hospital band from when my son was 6 months old in foster care, and he was admitted to hospital for a short while. And that's really helpful because my daughter has her hospital bands from birth, and we don't have those for my son. I don't know if his birth family kept them or if they just went missing, if nobody wanted them, but it's good to be able to have similar things to talk to them about, and show him that somebody cared and stored those things for him. Some really, really precious things as well were precious anecdotes were included in this book. So this is a very basic lined diary which our foster carer has used to have contact with my son's birth parents. So whenever he went to visit them in her care, she would write a little note to them about how well he'd slept and eaten, and when she thought he'd need a nap or a snack, and any kind of cute things that he'd done that morning that they might be interested in knowing. So we've got loads of anecdotes in there. And the really wonderful thing about this book is that the birth parents wrote back. So she included a pen every time they went to contact. She just popped a little pen in the ring binder. And little encouragements in there saying, let me know how you get on, so that they'd know to write back. So that was really, really wonderful because we can see from the stuff that his birth parents have written that they have a sense of humour, which we wouldn't have really gotten from elsewhere. Most of the information that we receive is obviously about why he can't stay with them. So it's nice to be able to balance that with some nice facts about them, some good stuff. So that's wonderful. We also have a list of clothing, books and toys which our foster carer created, and it very helpfully says who and where they came from. So everything that my son had when he came to us is on that list, and I'm able to say things like, "Oh, I know, that's a really fun toy. Your birth mum gave you that one." I use her name actually, but I won't show that here. So that's really helpful. It shows him that they did care about him, they gave him things, and it also shows him that we are not trying to cut them out of his life, and I want him to know that he can always ask me about his birth family and talk to me about them and tell me what he's thinking. So that's a way that you can do the same thing. Or you can help your children's future adoptive parents to do the same thing. So in terms of actually talking to children about foster care, it can be quite tricky to know where to start. So I would recommend starting straight away, even if they're too young to really process it, or you think they're too young. And it's especially helpful if they're too young to ask questions, actually, because then you can get a chance to to get your script just right. Make sure that you're using the words that you want to be using to describe different people and situations. So I started off with a really basic script saying, I'd start with a photo of all of us, and I'd say, this is our family, we're the Marlows, we live together and we love each other, and we'd point out who was who. You can do that if you're in a long-term foster care situation and you know that they're going to be staying with you, because it sort of reinforces that that's who they are and that this isn't a story of how things are going to keep changing. If things are going to change, then you can skip that step and you can talk about their origins. So we have a photo of my son's birth family, and I will say things like, well, initially I would say, this is so-and-so, this is so-and-so, you grew in her tummy, and when you were born they both cuddled you and they loved you. Then you went to live with the foster family, and then you came to live with us, and now we're a family and we live together forever. And that was to begin with. Then I would add in more details. So I'd say things like, they wanted to be your family, but they couldn't keep you safe. And I added in things like, the social worker was worried that they didn't keep you safe, so she organised for you to move to the foster family. And then over time I've added in, so she went to talk to the judge who decided that, blah, blah, blah. So you can just very gradually add to the story as their understanding improves. And it doesn't overwhelm them, and it helps them to understand it in bite-sized chunks. And children love the repetition, so when you add in something new, it's quite exciting for them and very interesting, because they notice it straight away and, hang on, that's new. And they want to talk about that new addition to the story. So it's good to do it in chunks. We also do life story work every day, just by drawing parallels. So we'll say things using some of the information that we got from this fab little book, and also information that we've gleaned from interactions our social workers and foster carers have had with the birth parents and letterbox contact that we have now. We'll say things like, oh yeah, your birth mum's favourite food is blueberries too, and oh yeah, your birth father's left-handed, just like you. And that's really good to balance the they couldn't look after you properly kind of stuff that we do need to teach him, but we don't want that to be all that we ever talk about, and we want him to know that we don't think they're bad people. So it's nice to have positives and neutral information that we can use. Even if we're not specifically talking about birth family, it's still life story work if we talk about what parents do, because it's kind of setting the foundation for those more detailed conversations. So whenever I'm asking my son to hold my hand to cross a road, I'll say something along the lines of, you need to hold my hand because I need to keep you safe. I'm your mum, and parents keep their children safe. And similarly, when I have to give him medicine, I'll remind him that I'm his parent, and so it's my job to keep him healthy, because that's what parents do and should do. Another important part of life story is to make sure that when a child has permanence, so if they are staying with you long term, you can do this, you need to reinforce that that's where they're going to be, that's where they're going to stay. So I try to insert myself into his future. So if he says he likes a car, as he often does, I'll say, yeah, that's a really good one. Are you going to get one like that when you're grown up? Oh, cool. Where will you drive me? Where can we go in it? You know, will you take me to Asda and IKEA, all these places that he likes to go to? Just to reinforce that I plan to be in his future. And sometimes I'll try and talk about when I'm really, really old, I want to go to certain places, just to reinforce that that's long term. I also have lots of clothes in bigger sizes to show him that he's going to be here when he's those sizes and older. And we do a lot of role play. So my son is really into dinosaurs, and we do a lot of organising the dinosaurs into different families. So we have a birth family, a foster family, and an adoptive family, a social worker dinosaur, and we talk through the whole scenario. We also use books and TV shows to normalise adoption as a whole, and to talk about different kinds of families. So there's lots of stories that, lots of books and TV shows nowadays that feature different families. And it's just a really good way to normalise it. I'm sure many of you already do. If you would like a list of the books and TV shows that I use, that is on my website. It's at hollymarlow.com/resources. And I hope that you found this all helpful. And if you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to contact me at all. It's holly@hollymarlow.com if you'd like to send me an email.